Kevin, excluding me, can you name the three most influential people?
Influential as far as?
Influential, inspirational.
Geez, Jeff, it's hard to find who number 2 and 3 would be. Give me time.
I understand, but it could be someone famous or someone close to you.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. In my industry, I do pay pretty close attention to three quote unquote industry experts that primarily teaching about how to run a better agency. So I pay pretty close attention to a guy named Drew McClellan, a guy named Michael Gass, and another guy whose name is escaping me at the moment. But I do follow some industry experts too, pretty strongly. I also belong to a couple peer groups who, like leadership CEO peer groups who I get together with on a monthly basis, very similar to a 20 group would be in the auto business, where 20 automobile principals spend time together on a monthly or quarterly basis to help share best practices and feel it's not a competitive threat against them. But I do that with two different organizations that are digital agency based. One's in a group called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. I know I know probably, Jeff, you've sold quite a few cars, probably guys who are members of YPO. I know that the guy, Nickel, that has the winery out in California was a YPO guy. That's why I had a chance to have a dinner at his house one time. That's one. Another group's called Digital Mastermind. So there's definitely some influence inside those communities, not just one particular person, but just the groups in themselves create a lot of influence and a lot of education through their experiences.
Okay, so here's what I find interesting about your answer. And of course, I relate everything to the car dealership. I'm a little bit of a one-trick pony, right? So
sure.
You'd mentioned that there were people at the dealership that worked there a long time that were crushing it, or people at the dealership a long time that were not doing very well at all.
Yes.
This relates. The best basketball player in the world throws the most practice free throws, and the best golfers hit the most buckets of balls, and et cetera, et cetera. And the people that are lower on the board, so to speak, don't practice as much.
Yeah.
So it's an effort thing. So I think that it would be safe to say that you're okay. You're not worrying about where your next meal's coming from. You got a successful business. I think that you're doing as well as you ever hoped that you would do when you were a kid. Like I hope I can get a McLaren as one of my cars.
Sure.
Even if it's a short-term inventory. Still, yet here you are talking about, when I say who are these influential people, you're talking about trainers, teachers,
coaches.
Right. Mentors.
Yep.
And then when you're talking about your peer group, you're talking about a support group to help you move the ball when you're at the point where a lot of people would say, if I could ever get there, then I've arrived, blah, blah, blah. So here you are, certainly notable. I mean, we've already talked about your credentials at the beginning of the show. You've been recognized by the kind of business you run, by the kind of guy you are, by the kind of CEO you are. And you're talking about how you're still looking for the support to improve. It's the same thing as the guy that's been at the Hyundai store a long time that's doing a phenomenal job because he keeps sharpening his saw. He keeps taking his training. He keeps working. And so you've got all my admiration there.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Really?
I think, but I think you're right. The guy hits the most balls, it's pretty one of the best golfers. But I think the appetite to continue to learn just still is in my body every day. And, I just love being around really bright, smart people. And I love learning. And it doesn't have to be in my industry. I just love to be around an area where I can be learning from others. It could be learning business stuff. It could be learning personal things. But I think, your appetite to learn and your desire to continue to take in new things to be able to improve, it's a good habit, or it's a good appetite to have, right?
It's a great appetite to have. But I want to change around something you just said. The guy who hits a lot of balls is a great golfer. I'm reversing it. The guy that's already a great golfer is hitting a lot of balls.
That's correct. Yeah, that's true. Yep. So
he's already there.
You're never not polishing, right? You're always polishing. You're not resting on your laurels. And you're talking about, I'm sure you're not worried about your next meal and all those types of things. And sure, a lot of those are true. But something I'll confess on this podcast today is one of my sources of entertainment, 1 or 2 mornings a week on my 20-mile commute from Clearwater Beach to Tampa, Florida every day, is I might listen to a little bit of Howard Stern's in the morning on my way in for a little bit of entertainment. And here's a guy who's, makes $110 million a year, consistently preached there's not a day he doesn't think about he's going to lose it all. And he runs his life in fear one day that he's going to lose it all. And he views that as an unhealthy, but yet healthy fear. And, I think, Jeff, I never, ever take for granted anything that's happened so far. And I never want to overestimate how those things could disappear. I had a company of 225 employees go down to 11 in a matter of 9 months, right? I've seen what can happen, right? And I don't ever want to relive that experience. So, continually try to grow, learn, improve so that my risk factor is diminished as best as possible. And it's a healthy appetite or a healthy habit to try to form, because the consequences the other side, are pretty significant.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.